Minister for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities Sindisiwe Chikunga and AmaZulu King Misuzulu KaZwelithini are leading a march in Durban today. The Men Unite Against Gender-Based Violence and Femicide march is in line with the 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign. NotInMyName, a social justice movement and lobby group, has also been at the forefront in the fight against gender-based violence, calling on men to take their part in the scourge. Well, President Siyabulela Jentile joins me here in studio to further unpack this initiative. Siyabulela, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Thank you once again. So talk to us about, of course, as an active voice in the fight against GBV, what are you calling for this year as we observe these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence?
Thank you very much, Sisi. So the message has not changed. As the NotInMyName movement, one, we welcome the initiative that is currently happening in KZN, and we support it, and we thank the government as well as the King for taking this initiative and all these other organizations that are involved. But on our side, the message has not changed. We are still saying that we are not going to effectively fight gender-based violence successfully by continually vilifying men, by continually demonizing men. Men need to be part of the conversation. Men need to be part of the broader discussion around GBV, because it's almost always men who are at the center of this violence as perpetrators. And so we are saying that keep it up to those who are, actively observing this 16 days, and also just to make a clarion call to say that it should go beyond 16 days. We've always said that it should be 365 days, and some people are doing it, and those who are not, we are saying that come on board and join us, and let's make sure that we fight GBV and all other social ills in our country.
And that call for men to be included, Siyabulela, was just about to reiterate, to be included in all initiatives that actually seek to address these issues, has actually been heightened. So we really need to identify some of the core issues and causes as both genders in terms of what is the real cause behind some of the actions that is committed by some of the guys. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, of course. It's more than one cause. They are either social, they are economic, they are moral, they are cultural, traditional, and we've always spoken about these things. We know them, and so hence once more, it's important that everyone needs to be part of the discussion. I want to raise another point around the economic justification that a lot of abusive or violent men would often want to abuse their female counterparts on the basis of, I don't work, so she's not respecting me. And if you think about it in retrospect, GBV is costing the country billions. And so if you are an abuser, but on the other hand, you are saying that you don't have a job, well, the government is spending billions on addressing GBV that you are perpetuating, you don't have work. So you are effectively working against yourself. So there are those issues that we really need to deal with. But be that as it may, there can never be any excuse for a man to be violent towards women and towards children or towards fellow men, whether you cannot find employment or because you were abused yourself. That is why we've created spaces that are safe for men to speak. We have called on stakeholders who can offer, psychosocial services pro bono. Churches have come in on board. So everyone is playing their part to ensure that those reasons that may be there, they're effectively addressed, so that we can say as a country we are fighting this thing and we are winning, because at this point, honestly, we are not winning the fight against GBV. Absolutely.
But I mean, Siyabulela, have you also found that the issue around the fact that a lot of men might not understand when you say you've perpetuated gender-based violence against a female? He will say, well, I haven't physically hit this person. And they do not understand the fact that you do not necessarily have to physically hit someone in order for you to be an abuser. So a lot of education and awareness is still needed to to ensure that even those that might feel that their actions are just part of, the normal homestead where indoda, a man is given a place at home and he takes all the decisions. So we really need to change our mindset as society as well.
Most definitely, and it becomes now central to our collective effort as activists, as active members or leaders in society, to educate each other, but also ourselves to continuously learn and unlearn some of the things that we think that we're right. Abuse takes form in different shapes and forms. It can be verbal, it can be physical, but it can also be emotional, it can be economic. When you, as a man, if you withhold financial resources from your female counterpart,
it is a crime.
It is abuse.
It is abuse.
So we need to educate each other around those things. And so this 16 Days of Activism was actually a very good platform to do that, but it can never be enough. So we need to take it to day 17, day 18, until day 365.
How important is going back to historical norms and practices to try and also include them as part of the solutions going forward in dealing with gender-based violence, Siyabulela?
So one, we need to make it clear that contrary to popular belief or what has been
enshrined,
yes, out there, that
as part of our nucleus and DNA.
Men have always been these
aggressive lawmakers. Yeah,
exactly. We need to then say that actually that is not true. Men have been very considerate in the past. If you look at how, especially in the African context, how men and women used to relate to one another, how the other would go and hunt and then they bring back the hand, and then the other would prepare.
He's the provider.
Yes. And in a positive and healthy way. We need to make people aware of those things and to say that masculinities as we know them today have not always been like this, and bring out that awareness and appreciation that some masculinities may not necessarily be hegemonic. Some masculinities can be soft, can be, some men can
be feminine.
Can come out in ways that are not cultural or traditionally acceptable or socially acceptable, but they are still men.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with them. So our conversation needs to move then past that and go into understanding various masculinities and how they show up in our homes.
Stereotyping as well.
Exactly. And this system we always call the patriarchy. How do we dismantle it? What do we take from it? What can we retain from it? Because patriarchy as a system is not 100% wrong. There are things that are patriarchal in nature, but they're for the benefit of the society. What are those? How can we amplify them? What is it that is harmful? How can we get rid of? And so those are some of the things that we need to push as we are having these discussions.
All right. Now, Siyabulela, you told me off air that next week you'll be having your own similar march to what was held in Durban today in Lusikisiki. Tell us all about that. And also, very quickly, what type of real-time solutions do we still need as a country in addressing the scourge as we see abused children initially become abusers themselves?
Of course. So we've always maintained as the NotInMyName movement that at some point we need to move from protest to policy. And there has been some pieces of legislation that the president signed in January 2022, 2 or 3 of them. And we've seen some movement, honestly. We've got in place the NSP, National Strategic Plan on GBV. We need to know how far we are with that. But the plan as it is a very good and comprehensive response from government, but we need to see it happening. Absolutely. So those are some of the immediate things that we need to see happening. But we need to take it, to personalize it and take it in our homes. How do we raise our boys? How do we raise our girls?
Very important.
Do we continue saying boys must be aggressive and girls must be submissive? Or do we teach them to be just good and human beings? And ourselves as men, as women, we just need to start being, we are the change that we need to see. As a movement, even yesterday the team was in court outside Pretoria Magistrate Court assisting another victim, a lady who was murdered by the boyfriend. So we are continuing doing these things and assisting victims and trying to rehabilitate men as much as possible. So next week we'll be having a few activations around Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. This is part of a build-up of a program we'll be doing later later on in the week in Mthatha that is centered around hunger relief. So we are going towards Christmas now. So we've identified families, about 90 families that will be giving groceries to around Utsolo, Butterworth and Mthatha. So work has been done, and these are homes that have got men who are unemployed and who may feel that they're not men enough. And so we're saying that you don't necessarily need to be aggressive, you don't need to be violent. Here's something for you to, just to get ahead for this next 2-3 weeks, because December can be quite stressful. Absolutely. So we're trying to alleviate that and assist where we can.
Siyabulela, thank you so much. As your name says, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and good luck for your campaign out in Lusikisiki next week. That is Siyabulela Jentile, the hashtag NotInMyName president, also talking to us as we observe the 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children.